Hello everybody, my name is Sophie and welcome to my new video. Today we're talking about Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Woohoo! I'm not feeling that energetic. I did get a new background. We're trying to optimize the background, make it more interesting, but I don't know how it looks on camera. You have to tell me. Do you like it? Thank you to my members who sponsored this background. My members are Haley B, Ashley Ranger B, Mrs. Preminger, Trinity ELW, and my newest member is Clara S. Love you guys. I have 6 members now. That's so many members, and I'm so excited. I also really like the name Clara. I was thinking about this, and I was like, I've never heard that name, but I really like it. Shout out to you, girl. My members get to decide my next reads, which by the time you see this video, to my members, of course, who see it 24 hours early, and everyone else who sees it 24 hours after, there's gonna be a poll for my members to decide my next read, because I don't know what to read. So many books, so little interest. You know, people usually say they don't have time. I just don't want to. So if you want to help me decide, you can also consider becoming a member. Or if you want to see my videos sooner, you can also consider becoming a member. And I would be really happy about it. Shout out to you guys. Love you. You sponsored these little stars. I actually think they look cute. I think they look good. So, Divine Rivals. What is this book? You might have heard of it on Booktok. If you're not on Booktok, then probably not. Peace and love. It's advertised on par with Fourth Wing because as far as I'm concerned, they both came out in April, but I'm gonna check again. I forgot to look it up. I did do my research, but on something else. Like I always do. Divine Rivals came out on the 4th of April and Fourth Wing on the 2nd of May. Okay, so I absolutely lied. Sorry. But they did both come out at the beginning of the year, and so people will tell you, if you love me, no, what did I say? If you love Fourth Wing, you should read Divine Rivals. If you love Divine Rivals, you should read Fourth Wing. And those two books have nothing in common. Which prompted this. Booktok always lies. Because they do be lying all the fucking time. What they have in common is that they're both like fantasy romance. And there's not much fantasy, but more romance. So if that's something you're into, you're probably gonna like this book. You know, I don't think that this book was that bad. And if you watch my reading vlog that I have on this book, I was thinking in there, like, should I rate this 1 or 2 stars? I was very torn until I wasn't anymore and gave it 1 star. My review reads as follows. I've made it really funny. She writes letters like I did when I was heartbroken at 13 over my Minecraft boyfriend. And that's also the entire premise of this book. They write letters like they've never had sex before, and they haven't, so that explains it. I did read some of the things out that I wrote into my notebook. If you're interested in that, you can go check out my reading vlog. I prove it there. Maybe I'm gonna prove it here. I haven't decided yet. If I want to embarrass myself that much. I'm very much in the minority with this ranking, and I have finished this book a few days ago, so it gave me more time to sit with it and to think about it, and I have to say, at the end of the day, this book just was. It exists, and that's it. It's like not that bad for the writing. I've read worse, you know what I mean? Like it was just boring. It was boring bad. It wasn't funny bad like Crave or something like that, where I genuinely give you the side eye. If you're like, Crave is my favorite book, I'm gonna be like this. But if you like Divine Rivals, I'm gonna be like, you know, you could have picked worse. Like, it's not, I'm not gonna beat you up or anything. Not that I would want to beat up anyone, but definitely not over Divine Rivals. Oh my god. This water is cold! I was like, oh my god, is it cold? It is! Everybody take a sip of water. We gotta stay hydrated. I'm wearing lipstick. So, before we talk about the book, let's talk about the author. I love doing research. If you don't know me and you're like, who the fuck is this girl? I love looking at authors and finding out how old they are, especially if they don't post it anywhere, and I was successful yet again. Yet again! And I actually dressed to impress today. I didn't. Honestly, I thought this brown and this brown was the same shade. It's not. I can't see it now on camera, but in real life it looks the same, so it's kind of embarrassing. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't liked my review on Goodreads yet, go like it for Divine Rivals. My Goodreads is at Honestly Sophie, and the reason I'm telling you this is because you can send me your friend request, I'll accept it, but also because I'm almost the most liked 1-star review for this book. Please like it. I want to be the most liked. The author is Rebecca Ross. That is her name. She has the same first name as the Fourth Wing author, whose name is, of course, Rebecca Yarros. Is that your real name? I did some digging on the Fourth Wing author too. I'm so excited for the sequel. I'm gonna read it. I'm not excited because I'm excited for the book, but just because I want to talk about the author, because I found out some shit. Really odd. Very American is the premise. But for Rebecca Ross, the one of this book, you know, if your first name is Rebecca and you're watching this, now is the time to publish a book. This is your, you know, your sign. If you want to publish a book, do it now. Fourth Wing, Rebecca. Divine Rivals, Rebecca. It could be you. You could be next. Non-threateningly. That's not very threatening, I'm sorry. On her website, she has an about section, as every author does, and I looked at it and it says she resides in Northeast Georgia. She resides? Just say she lives. You don't have to try that hard. And yet again, I'm left wondering, do authors write these things about themselves, or do they give facts about themselves to someone else and then that person writes it about the author? Like, what is happening here? I'm really curious about this. So if anyone knows, let me know, because sometimes, like, are they writing about themselves in third person? That would be really weird. She resides? I just don't like that. Her first book came out in 2018 and she's published like 5 or 6 books at this point. And if you go onto her Instagram, she has a very nice Instagram feed. And just before I tell you anything else, she seems like a very nice person. She's unproblematic. She just posts her little silly Instagram pictures with the same filter, and it's giving Tumblr 2014, you know, it's very aesthetically pleasing. She just seems like a sweet person, and I have nothing against Rebecca Ross. Peace and love, Rebecca Ross, if you're watching this. I hope you're not, because I'm gonna talk really badly about your book. That being said, little disclaimer, if you love this book, by the way, or if you're Rebecca Ross, I don't mean harm. I mean everything I say with peace and with love. I understand that there's people who love this book, and as I said, I respect it, I get it, everyone likes what they like, it's subjective. I like things that you don't like, and this video is just meant for fun. I'm just trying to be funny. I hope you giggle. So then I was really angry because I could not find out Rebecca's age. She doesn't really post any personal things. She does have a husband, allegedly, and a dog, allegedly. She posted that on her about page, but there's, what I've noticed, what I'm trying to say is, the authors who write really trashy books, and I'm gonna call out some, Crave, Pucking Around, that's all I know off the top of my head. Those people tend to post a lot about themselves. A lot of information that you didn't ask for. They post about their family, they post about what they're doing all day. It doesn't matter, they post a lot of things about themselves, and people who write books like Divine Rivals, I don't know anything else right now. I'm so good at giving examples. You're not gonna believe me now. But authors like Rebecca Ross, they don't post about their personal things. They will maybe post like, happy anniversary to my husband, but they won't post like, it was my 42nd birthday or anything like that. So, peace and love to that. But that bothered me because then I couldn't find out how old she was, and I really wanted to fucking know how old she was because I like knowing. Because that explains most of the time if you get a certain vibe from a book and like a certain wavelength from a book where you're like, okay, this is kind of weird. The age of the author usually explains it. But that being said, I didn't get any weird vibes from this book that made me be like, oh my god, is she like old? I didn't think that. I just wanted to know because I want to know about everyone. Because I'm, you know, I always like to say, I'm not curious if I know whatever. So, Becca, as her Instagram name is Becca. So maybe that's her nickname, maybe I can call you that, queen? I couldn't find any information on her Instagram, so with the not so limited information she gave us on her about page, I tried to figure it out, and I figured out an age, okay? And I did not believe it. The age that I found, I did not believe that that was her age. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give up. Until I did more research, I did not give up, and then it made sense, and it was her real age. I'm not gonna tell you her age until the end. So, I did some Googling. I know that she graduated from university in English, okay? And I know where she lives because she says it herself, but she's like, not like, you know, Not like I called anyone or anything, it's online. And I found her age. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you. I found her age and it was 36. And I didn't think she was 36 because she wasn't giving 36. She was giving like early 30s. Like I would have given her 32. She has very long hair. She dresses very youthful. That being said, if any 36-year-olds old... any 36-year-olds are watching this, with peace and love I come to you. I don't know anyone in their 30s. I don't know what people look like in their 30s, if I'm being honest, you know, because it's absolutely the age range that is just not for me. I'm 22. That's it. I'm 22. I don't know anyone in their 30s. You know, I don't know what people look like in their 30s. So I was just from looking at her Instagram, I was like, I don't believe that she's more 40 than 30. Because if you're 36, you're more 40 than you are 30. I just thought she was younger than that. And I did look after finding, I'm 100% sure she is 36. After finding that information out, I went back onto her Instagram to look at some of her pictures, and I do have to say that by the way she does her eyebrows, it kind of gives it away. Peace and love, okay? Also, that being said, I'm 100% sure she is 36 because I found out that she graduated 2012. I don't know how old she was. I'm guessing she was 24 or 25 because she did change majors from English to nutrition to English again, and she did change schools like once, and so I think all of that added on top, because usually you're 23, 24 when you graduate, is what I'm guessing in the US, okay, on average. And for her it might have been like a year or two later, so 24, 25, and then 2012 was 11 years ago, and if you do, what did I say, 25 plus 11, it's 36. She's 36. That's all I have to say about her. I love her. She looks really cute. She seems like a fall girly. Like, her aesthetic very much gives fall, and that's why I wanted to dress in browns and stuff. Because it's not fall weather here yet. It's the 15th of September, but it feels like it's the fucking 30th of July or some shit, you know what I mean? That being said, let's talk about the book. My intros are always super long, I'm so sorry. I have to say that, first off, I'm going to tell you what the book is about, in case you don't know. Because maybe you know, maybe you don't. Oh, let me talk about some comments I got on my Goodreads under my review. I think these are by my lovely subscribers. You should become members. We have a comment by Shreya. She says, me praying to book gods that you end up liking this one. Well, I didn't, so pray harder next time. I'm sorry, I didn't like it. Kenza said, ouch, this is so high on my TBR list and everyone's claiming it's the best book of the year. Seeing you rate it 1 star is making me reconsider. Girl. I rate everything 1 star. Honestly, like, you shouldn't even base what you're gonna read next up on my reviews, because you know what's coming. You know what's coming. You know I'm not gonna like it. Sue said, well, it is YA. Yeah, but the main characters are 18 and 19 and not 13, queen. And then Terry Ann said, the Minecraft boyfriend no friend in school belief really existed. Well, he wasn't my boyfriend, actually. I just had a crush on him. But he was from Minecraft, so. And they believed he existed because I showed them pictures of him. Shout out Tom from Doncaster if you're watching this. And then Jenna said, this review made me laugh. Watch my review, Jenna. It's gonna make you laugh even more. That being said, this book is a World War I fiction fantasy with 2 main characters. They're 18 and 19, as I said. So they're adults. Peace and love, you know. When you're 18, you're an adult, but I'm 22 and I feel like a child. Be real! I have to do a be real. When I'm filming, I always do my be real, so my friends think that I'm famous. There's a war going on, and it's a fantasy world, but it's World War I fiction, and it's like World War I UK fiction, because they keep using UK or English grammar and spelling, not grammar, spelling is the word I mean, like mum and stuff like that. And I know that Rebecca Ross is not British. Peace and love, Rebecca. You're from Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know anything about that, but I think it's in the South. So I don't think... Wait, I know Georgia! He's on the British side of Georgia. He's trying to keep the colonies in line. That's from, Hamilton. So maybe she is a little British, because the British were in Georgia. See, now it all makes sense. I'm taking everything back. No, it was very odd. And oh 9. So there are a lot of things in this book that make sense if you look at the timeline, because I looked it up because it was confusing to me. But keep in mind that this is a fictional world. This is not our world. We are in a fantasy world. Places have fantasy names, and it's with magic, and there are gods, okay? We're not in fucking, Europe. We're not in Europe, okay? There are things like electricity. We have electricity, but we have typewriters. We have baseball, even though we're in a fantasy, and she keeps calling the place that she stays at during the war a B&B. All of those things make sense. Like, electricity existed when typewriters existed, because, you know, computers started coming in really late and typewriters were existing at the same time as electricity. But just as a reader, in a modern world, for me at least, it was something where I was like, huh? Because it doesn't feel real. Time doesn't feel real. Are we real? It just feels like kind of weird when you're reading that and you're like, electricity and typewriters, you're like, because typewriters feel so long ago, even though it is absolutely correct, like, they existed at the same time. I'm not saying that this is incorrect information. It feels weird. And it kind of took me out, because I just couldn't, I was like, okay, baseball? And baseball did also already exist, because she is doing a World War I fiction. I already said that. Whatever. Let's get into the book. Our main character is called Iris, and I will probably be referring to her as this bitch, because I usually do that. So, just so you know, her name is Iris Winnow. Iris Winnow, because apparently they're British in Georgia. We spent the entire first, I don't know, half of the book in her city. I don't remember the name of the city. London. We spent the entire first half in fictional London, because there is her rival called Roman. And Roman is her rival. They're competing for a spot as columnist in a newspaper, whatever the fuck that means. And this doesn't matter. This plot does not matter, because nothing matters in this book. I don't know why we spend so much time in London, fictional London, fantasy London, because we don't care about London. She eventually goes to the war, and the war is supposed to be the focal point. And in this book, I have to look up on Goodreads how it's advertised, but I know that on Kindle, it read, like, monsters, gods, war, and all of that. And that absolutely takes, like, a sideline in the book. And I think it's really sad, because if you advertise your book like that, it should be more of the focal point. That was really big of me. I said that nicely. I don't know. It doesn't say it on here, but I did say it on Kindle when I bought it. On Amazon, the description. Whatever. She is wanting to become a columnist. And you have to know, she's really poor. She's a poor girl. Her brother is fighting in the war. She misses him a lot. Her mom is an alcoholic. We don't care about the mom. Peace and love. Like, she was there for, like, she gets run over by a train. Feels like a very weird way for a character to go, but that's like her motivation to actually go to the Warfront after her mom gets ran over by a train. I just have to keep repeating that, because it's such an odd death for a book. Like, that's such a... I've never read that. Her love interest is Roman, and he is hot, sexy, and rich. And a little bit of a sexist. I don't think he's sexist, but he's a little classist, maybe. He's trying to become a columnist because he wanted to study literature in college, and his dad was like, no, you dummy. Only dumb people could study that. Go work. We get the prologue with her and her brother, and he tells her stay in school, which she eventually drops out of school. Rebel, radio rebel. He says to her, you brilliant academic who has yet to miss a day of class in all her years. They give awards for that, you know? What if you, like, wake up one morning and you have explosive diarrhea? Do you still go to school? Or does she not have diarrhea? Or do girls not poop? It always got on my nerves in high school when people were like, I'm never sick. Or when people at work are like, I'm never sick from work. It's like, no one cares if you are sick or if you're here. Well, no, that's not true. No one cares if you're here all the time. People don't care. You know? Like, be sick sometimes. Sometimes you need to be sick. The way she talks in the beginning is really annoying, because she assumes, or the way they talk about the war and the divines, which are their gods, is in a way where the author, Miss Becky, she accepts, man, I fucking hate when I keep messing up. You know how much editing I have to do because I just cannot speak English properly. I need to do a course or something. The way they talk about the war and the gods is very much like I'm supposed to know. Like, I'm supposed to get it. I'm just supposed to know how everything works, but I don't. I don't know how it works. You're putting me under pressure. The world building in this book is very meh, and I will complain it multiple times in this video. You can already, like, wait for me to complain, because there was no need, and I will talk about this more when it comes up, when the time comes, when the time is right, I will talk about it more. The time is not yet right. But just for a little teaser, there is no need for this book to be magical, and there is no need for this book to be set in a fantasy world. I've seen someone, I think under my reading vlog, someone commented that the second book is going to be more focused on the magic rather than the romance, but all of it was ass in this book. The romance was ass. We'll get to it. Girl, you don't even know what's coming. The fantasy was ass. Like, there was no need for the magic. The only magic we get is between two typewriters, because they can send letters in between each other. And that was used as a tool for the main characters to fall in love. That's the reason that was done. So, we have that. We have the world building. The world building was terrible. The gods absolutely have no influence on the world or on the war. There is no need for this war to be magical. It could have just been World War I, but then we would have had to write about the Germans. I'm German. In the beginning, when she is still in London, she also goes to different stores, and then we get a little bit, because literally, and I mean this with War and Hate, fuck the piece of love, War and Hate, the only magic that we get to see really is the magic between the typewriters. Even then, we don't get explained how that works. It's just because, oh, you know, this legend back in the day. No, it's not even a legend. It was their grandparents. It's, like, not a legend if they're still alive. I don't know what makes a legend a legend. I'm sorry. Their grandparents were friends. 3 girls were friends. And then they would want to write letters to each other. So they found a dude that could make anything magical. And he made 3 magical typewriters. And so they could always send letters to each other magically. And that's the only magic we get. And then in the beginning, is what I wanted to say is, there are magic stores. And she's like, she gets called broke by the store. She goes into a store and she's like, oh my god, I hate these magic stores. You never know what's magic, what's not. But I go in there, and then the store only shows me what I can afford. And it's only bread and eggs. And I think that's quite convenient. Because how many times do I check a price and it's just like too expensive and then I have to put it back? That's kind of more embarrassing, you know? I think it's nice that this store already provides for you. You don't have to do a lot of searching. You know what you have in your pocket, what you can buy. I think it's nice magic. She's like, ugh, I'm being called broke. Go work. I have to charge the camera, but I will be back. I forgot where we stopped. We find out her mom's an alcoholic really randomly. It goes like this. No, Iris thought, blinking back tears. You only needed money to buy more alcohol. I'm sorry, I cannot get over the fact that this woman, that the death of the mother that motivates the whole story to develop is because she gets run over by a fucking train. That's so morbid. Iris has been writing her brother letters, okay, who went to war. He was called by the goddess Enva. Her song made him enlist because for some reason she's like a goddess of magic. She plays her harp, and that makes people join the army to fight against the evil dude whose name I can't pronounce. That's actually something I wanted to look up. Let's find out together. By the way, I put on their lipstick because I wanted to slay, obviously, but also because I'm getting a big ass pimple right here, and you can still see it. Dacre is, I feel like that's like a Irish name or something, but anyway. The good goddess is called Enva. The evil god is called Dacre, and they're the ones that are at war against each other, and Enva plays the harp and makes people enlist in the army, and her brother heard the song of Enva and therefore enlisted in the army. He's been gone for a few months. He hasn't been writing Iris at all. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know if he's dead or anything. She's just at home, poor, with her mom, who's an alcoholic, and she's been writing him letters with her magical typewriter from her grandma, which I talked about. And she keeps sending these letters. No, she doesn't actually. She keeps putting them in the closet. She puts them in the closet because there is some story behind that. And I forgot it, but it doesn't really matter. Someday, she puts the letter either in the closet or in front of the closet, and it disappears. And she's like, what the fuck? And she gets a letter back. And it says, "This isn't Forrest," which her brother's name is Forrest. Very American. But we're in London. Confusing. And instead of being like, "What the fuck? This isn't Forrest. Who the fuck is answering me?" She just doesn't do anything about it. She's like, "I have to sleep about this." I would immediately write the person back. If I got that note back, "This isn't Forrest," I would be like, "Who the fuck has been reading my letters?" By the way, she didn't notice that the letters were gone. The ones that she already put in the closet. She was busy being poor. The person receiving the letters is, of course, Roman. And I hate that. I hate that he's the one receiving the letters, and I hate that we find out that he's the one receiving the letters. And also, he knows Iris, obviously, because they're like the rivals that develop into lovers. I think it would have been way better if, I mean, we would have known regardless because we're in a YA book, but if the reader hadn't known that Roman was the one receiving the letters, / if Roman also didn't know they were from Iris. Because he knows the whole time. He knows from the beginning that the person writing to him is Iris. He reads her letters that in which she is very vulnerable because she thinks she's writing to her brother, or she isn't thinking she's writing. She's just writing to get it out, you know, like a diary kind of. And he's reading them and he's not saying anything. And I think that's kind of icky. I don't like that at all. He had come to know the sound of Iris's letters well, how they slipped like a whisper into his room. He had instantly known the letters were from Iris. She had given herself away not on name, but in other ways. Her employment at the Oath... Oh, Oath is the city! Not London. Her employment at the Oath Gazette was the primary one, and then her exquisite... I realized that the word exquisite was used in this book, and I was going to talk about it later. I didn't realize that it was going to come up again twice. Fuck that word. Fuck that word! I hate the word exquisite. Every time it comes up in a book, I say it. Exquisite is such a weird word to describe things. If someone called me you say like exquisite. You never say exquisite. That's such an old-timey word. We find out that Roman is he's very unhappy because he's rich, and rich people always complain. He's rich, and unbeknownst to us, the reason, that was a really hard way to express my thoughts. He's in an engaged marriage. No, arranged. He's in an arranged marriage because of his dad. Because his dad is rich and mean. And rich people are always mean, and they always make arranged marriages. It's some random woman whose name I have forgotten, and the reason they are, and this, again, this all takes place in magical London. This doesn't matter. All of the things that happen in the first half of the book don't matter, and I think that we spend way too much time with it. And I've heard a lot of people say, or I've seen a lot of people say on TikTok, that they were close to not continuing reading this book because they just could not get through the first kind of 20%, 30%, because that is when we are in this magical London, and that is when nothing is happening. And then once they go to the Warfront, things start picking up for the people on TikTok, not for me. He does not want to get married because he does not know this woman. And she doesn't want to get married to him either. So why are we getting married? Chemistry girly, and she's doing something for the war, and Roman thinks it's bombs, but it's not bombs. It's like gas. Because they are on the evil dude side. Because, you know, they're rich, and rich people are always on the mean people's side. That rich people get richer or something. Eat the rich, I don't really know. We get very amazing exposition about the gods, because nobody ever talks about the gods. There's an implication that the government is like suppressing information about the gods and the history is being erased, but we don't know why. And I think this is a duology, so I'm sure it's going to get explored in the second book, but this is like basic exposition. Like, this is basic, something basic that you should tell me in this book, okay? I mean, you're not getting me hooked, Rebecca. The only reason we know anything about the gods is because, thankfully, Roman's rich grandpa was into the gods, and he wrote down the myths and legends and then hid them before they got fucking burned or some shit. And then Iris randomly asks Roman, who she doesn't know is Roman, because she eventually writes him back, is like, this isn't Forrest, who is this? And he's like, I'm not gonna tell you. Bitch. They keep writing back and forth, and then she's like, do you know anything about the gods? And he's like, oh, well, yes, I do. I had a grandpa. He's dead. Rip. he shares some myths with Iris, and all we really learn is that the gods, I wasn't paying attention. It's like a Persephone and Hades from Wish. Dacre took Enva into the underworld and was like, yeah, you can still play your song. And then she was held there and played her silly little song, and then she figured out that if she played a sleepy song, everybody would become sleepy and sleep. And then she played a really good lullaby, like a banging lullaby, and everybody fell asleep for 10 fucking days. That's how fucking banging that shit was. And then everyone falls asleep, she escapes from the underworld, and then Dacre is really mad, and then I don't really know what happened next, but it's implied in the end that Enva, because they're like, oh my god, they got up from their graves where they were meant to sleep for 1 million fucking years. Oh no, that's how it was. The legend is... I'm like the worst reviewer. Like, I don't remember anything. I can't pronounce anything. I don't know anything. I don't know what you're watching. She put him to sleep for multiple years. Very many multiple years. And it's implied in the end that Iris finds out in the end that it's implied. Whatever. Anyway, she thought that Enva was also asleep. And Dacre was asleep. Both were sleeping in their graves, and that they were now woken and are having this war against each other. But in the end, it's kind of like, oh my god, Enva was never asleep. She just put Dacre to sleep for multiple years on end. And then now he's woken up and he's really mad. And Enva was just on Earth? What was she doing? It's like 5 pages of exposition about this myth of how Enver and Dacre met and all of this. And this is the only explanation that we get, and I hate when that happens. I hate it. I didn't like how it was done, sorry. My personal preference, okay? Back to the naive female main character. She finds out that Kit is engaged while they are sharing a sandwich, which is the first time they are ever sharing a sandwich, because they were rivals for the whole time. And now they are still rivals, but friendly. And they're sharing a sandwich, and he is rich and she is poor, as I mentioned before, and he does not pay for her sandwich because he's afraid that his dad will be mad. She's like looking for her last fucking penny, and he's like, okay, poor. She sees the announcement of their marriage in the newspaper and she congratulates him. "You're a fool, Iris," her mind railed. "He's engaged! He's in love with someone!" She does not make the connection that when you are rich, you could potentially be in an arranged marriage. / when she talked to Roman about this, or she congratulated him on the marriage, he did not have a positive feedback to her. He wasn't like, "Thanks, queen, you're invited." He was like, "Okay, thanks." And then he went to cry in the corner. But of course, he is in love with someone. He is madly in love with his fiancée, because there's absolutely no other reason people can be engaged. And this kind of stumps Iris, because she does have a little crush on him. And she also has a little crush on her letter boyfriend, her Minecraft boyfriend, whose name is Carver. And Roman's middle name, she knows, starts with a C. But he never told her what it was. And his middle name is Carver, which I think is a very odd middle name. Carver? And for some reason, her mind never connects that it could potentially be Roman. And I don't really fault her for that, because she does make a point of saying in the beginning that she never reads Roman's work that gets published, so she wouldn't necessarily know his writing style. I think I would have known. If I were Iris, I think I would have figured it out. She starts thinking, who could this person be? And she starts asking all these questions, and she goes very, like, hypothetical, and she wondered who this correspondent was. How old were they? What gender were they? What time were they? Her mind goes so far to think they are in a different dimension, and like they're in the future or in the past or something. Like, that could be it. It's like, girl, it's just Roman. Iris is not the smartest, but that's just YA female main character syndrome, and that's fine. Her mom gets hit by a train and dies. That's what happens. It just feels very convenient, because she comes home from work, her mom isn't home, and she's thinking, oh, she's just gonna be out late, she's gonna come back as always. She wakes up in the morning, Her mom isn't there. She goes to work. Oh my god! She goes to work and she always has to type like the death announcement, and she gets a death announcement handed, and it's like, we are looking for somebody to identify this person, and it's her fucking mom. Oh my god. It's so vile. It's so vile. And of course, she's like, I can't do this anymore. Not the same day, but like 2 or 3 days later, it's announced that she is not going to be columnist because obviously her mother's death throws her into a loop and she doesn't tell anyone. But she doesn't get the position, and Roman gets the position, and she's like, okay, I can't stay here anymore. I have to change my life. I have to become more. And so she decides to leave the country. No. Oh my god. She decides to leave the town, the city, and go to the Warfront because they are looking for war I don't know how to say the word. Correspondence, maybe. I don't know. We're getting to the good part. Iris is writing a letter to Carver, and they're being very vulnerable towards each other. Again, Carver is Roman. She is in a love triangle with Roman and Carver, but Roman and Carver are the same person. And I mentioned that in my reading vlog. She's in a love triangle with the same fucking person because she feels for both of them. She writes him a letter before she's about to leave, I think. Oh, it doesn't matter, but I'm just gonna read out the beginning to you, and then I'm gonna read out something I wrote when I was 13 and heartbroken over my Minecraft boyfriend. Sometimes I'm afraid to love other people. Everyone I care about eventually leaves me, whether it's death or war. Okay, I didn't write that. Or simply because they don't want me. And I'm not afraid to be alone, but I'm tired of being the one left behind. Me when I was 13, it's just sad that when I push people away, they just go and don't even try to stay. I mean, are we on the same level? Does it not sound like something that could follow this fucking line? 30% in, she goes to the Warfront and she makes her first friend, and her name is Addie, and they're kind of friends out of convenience. I don't think she had any other friends in her life before besides her brother. Peace and love. They figure out, her and Roman, that they can still send letters to each other because she at this point doesn't know what kind of magic is within the typewriter. She just thinks it's bound to the house and not to the typewriter. But when she eventually goes to the Warfront and stays at a B&B, Airbnb, she figures out that she is still able to send Roman letters because they are bound to the typewriters and not to the place they are at. Yoo-hoo! They have certain siren drills and whatever. I guess that's accurate too. Whatever. I feel like you can't see my sign that well. It's really important. There you go. There are certain sirens because, of course, the evil man is evil and he's attacking with his evil creatures, and we experience all of those sirens, but there is never any sense of urgency, even while they are literally battling in war at the front. It doesn't feel urgent. It doesn't feel like anyone is at risk ever. Even when people get injured, it's like, okay, whatever, they'll live. And I think that's kind of sad. I wish the best friend would have died. Because she goes to a war first, and then she comes back, and I really thought she was gonna die. I think that would have been great for the story. Iris strode to the window, the siren continuing to wail. It made goose flesh rise on her arms to hear the keen of it. Goose flesh? Girl. That sounds nasty. Use the word goosebumps. Why are we trying so hard? They keep writing each other, Roman and her, and she says, I really want to meet you, but I don't even know what you look like. And he goes, I really want to meet you too. And it's insane to me because later when he reveals, or it's revealed that he was the one writing letters, he's like, I never lied to you. I never lied to you. I really wanted to meet you. And it's like, okay, you lied by omission. He was intentionally deceiving her and not telling her his name and everything, so she would open up more to him. Because for some reason he felt like him as Roman wasn't enough. Oh my god, we're already at the end. There's really not that much going on in this book. Peace and love, like, I'm really being nitpicky. Roman arrives at the front because he realizes he cannot live the life that his father has decided on for him. He became columnist and everything, but he too decides he is going to be a war correspondent. What the fuck? That sounded funny in my head. He wants to join the Warfront because he also misses Iris. I feel like there's a hair growing out of my little mole that I have. I don't know if it's called a mole, and I have to pick it. I saw that earlier. I just remembered. Perfect. Continue. so random. I'm so bored. When he arrives, he almost gets... When there's a certain siren, then you are not allowed to move. And you have to cover up all of the windows. And Roman is arriving right as the sirens are going off. And he doesn't know what they mean yet. And so he doesn't know he's not allowed to move. And he's like walking across the field like all... like hot girl walk and shit, and then Iris runs outside and she's like, "Don't move, Roman!" And then she throws herself over him and they both tumble in the weed and have to stay there really scaringly, but you know that nothing was gonna happen, and they're really entwined, and she's like, okay, maybe I do want him, maybe I do. There's no particular reason why they really want each other. They've been bickering with one another, and she thinks that the only reason he came to the front is because he, again, just like at the job before, wants to prove that he's the better rider. Why would he go to a fucking active war zone to do that? I don't know, her thinking is not very rational and very childish at times. Peace and love, like 18 isn't that old, you know? I still feel like the teenage girl at 22. He basically confesses to her in a letter because they are about to go to the front. Like, they're not at the front right now, they're a few kilometers away, but soldiers come in, injured soldiers, and then the dude's like, I don't know what he's called, like the colonel from KFC. He goes, "I'm gonna take one of you with me." And Iris is like, "Okay, last time my bestie went, I'm gonna come with you now." And then Roman is like, "We only go together." And then he writes her a letter basically confessing that he is Roman before he knew they were going to the front together and gonna be stuck together for a while. And then he's like, fuck, I can't have her read this while we're at the front, it's gonna escalate. And the way he tells her that it's him is he goes into the garden and he's like, "Hey girlies, can you tell me some words, some synonyms for a word?" And they tell him, and he includes all of those words that were said in the letter. Instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm Roman." He's gonna make it complicated. Fuck men. Thank God they've been going on runs together just a few kilometers off the fucking front, you know, off the active war zone. They've been going to runs every single morning because now they're ready to go to the actual front and fight in the war. No, honestly, guys, the war is such a side plot. The main plot and the main focus is the romance, and it annoyed the fuck out of me. I just don't think I'm a romance girly, and I don't really know why, because I love romance movies. But for books, it's just like, there's a fucking war going on and you're going for a run? You're just, like, outside? Are you not scared? I don't fuck with this writing. He envisioned a battle coming to a head. He envisioned fighting. Would Iris run if he ordered her to? Should he let her out of his sight? He envisioned hiding her in a bunker, fleeing through the trenches with her, fueled by white-hot fear. I envision a good book. I envision. Don't fuck with this writing. Don't know why he keeps envisioning things. Don't know why we can't write this better, this line. I don't like it. Anyway, next. We have a super random revelation, and this is a long paragraph. I'm gonna read this out to you. By the way, they keep calling each other by their last name as a nickname, so Winnow and Kit, and it gets on my fucking nerves, because they use it in every single dialogue that they have at least 5 times. And I hate, in general, when people use names when they talk to people. I know it's like a, you know, they teach you that in like business class, where they're like, you should say the name of people so they feel more like you're approaching them and it feels more personal, blah blah blah. I don't fuck with that. I had a boss once who always said that. She would also always say, "Right, Sophie, right?" And I would be like, shut the fuck up. I'm so uncomfortable. I hate when people do that. Them using each other's names the whole time. Same vibes. Hate it. We are on page... I don't even know what page we're on. I don't even know where we are. They're in the middle of war. And they're getting attacked and Roman is injured. And she now has this revelation of she's in love with Roman. And I don't think that it developed very nicely. I think it was very choppy, the romance. They just kind of start liking each other because they're hot. And that's kind of the thing with YA books, you know, they just like each other because they're hot. She and Roman would survive this war. They would have the chance to grow old together, year by year. They would be friends until they both finally acknowledge the truth. And they would have everything that the other couples had. The arguments and the hand-holding in the market and the gradual exploration of their bodies. And the birthday celebrations and the journeys to new cities and the living as one and sharing a bed. And the gradual sense of melting into into each other. I don't have that sense of my boyfriend, peace and love. We are not melting. Well, with this weather, with this heat, we might be. Their names would be entwined, Roman and Iris, or Winnow and Kit, because could you truly have one without the other? And they would write on their typewriters and ruthlessly edit each other's pieces and read books by candlelight at night. You have fucking electricity. Turn on a fucking lamp. Is poor. She can't envision electricity. It's a very vocal point that she's poor, okay? I'm not just making fun of poor people. I am a poor person. I have, you know, $80 on my account. So please watch the ads. Or become a member, or both. She wanted him. Leaving him behind in the trenches wasn't even a possibility. They make it out. He gets injured. His leg is injured. That's very important for later. Yeah, I remember this. There are title chapters. Title chapters. And I think title chapters are necessary. I don't necessarily read them even. Like, I just skip them. It's just like little quotes in the beginning of the chapters or whatever people include. There's lipstick on my hand. Ignore that. I'm busy. This title, I think, is super iconic. The snow in Kit's back. And my note reads, he does cocaine? He doesn't. But I think that would have made this book more interesting. This is when she finally gets to sit down and read the letter while Kit is in the hospital because his leg got injured. And she reads it and it says, I love you, Iris, and I want you to see me. I want you to know me. Through the smoke and the firelight and the kilometers that once dwelt between us. Do you see me? And she realizes, oh my god, it's Kit. No, she whispered, no, it can't be. This is a mere coincidence. Shut the fuck up, you dummy. And then she goes to the hospital. It's very much reminiscent of, if you remember Farrah and Reese, where she was like, you don't get to speak. How long have you known? Blah, blah, blah. And they go back and forth. But they make up immediately because he unconsensually kisses her. She also asks him, why did you not send me back the letters to my brother like I asked you to in the beginning when I didn't know who you were? Like, right in the beginning when he was like, this isn't Forrest. And then she was like, can you give me the letters back? And he was like, no. I can't. And then she thought that he had lost them. But he just didn't want to give them back because he really liked them. I don't like that. They are not for you, King. They're not for you. The C is for Carver. My name is Roman Carver Kid. They're making out. It's super hot. This is the first time they've kissed another person. She couldn't stop the moan that escaped her. In the middle of the hospital. They just are not a good match. I don't really like them together. I don't like Roman. That's the issue. I also don't like Iris. I actually don't like anything about this book now that I'm thinking about it. She's like, okay, I'm gonna introduce myself to you because they haven't really ever spoken properly. And she says, I like this and this. And Roman then goes, oh, I like all of that, but the exact opposites. She's like, I like sunrise. He goes, I like sunset. She goes, I like sweet. He goes, I like sour. Great. Great start. My favorite season is spring because baseball returns. Baseball in a magic world. Okay, that was a line that could have easily been left out. The baseball, because it doesn't have any relevance in this book. And I don't think he's gonna become a baseball legend in the next book, Peace and Love. And if you would have left that out, I would have had way less to complain about. Like 1 point, okay? It's just, it takes you out when you are reading a book that's meant to be fantasy with gods and magic. And then someone goes, I love baseball. Just leave it out. You didn't have to include the baseball. There's no point for it. He could have said, I like spring because I like flowers and bees or something. So she immediately forgives him for the deception, the lying by omission, but whatever, you know. Men are trash. Sorry, guys. Sorry to the men. They're talking about Iris's middle name. It's, of course, Elizabeth. And he goes, whatever could it be? Iris Enchanting Winnow? Iris Ethereal Winnow? Iris Exquisite Winnow? I hate the word exquisite, guys. I hate it so much. And then the banger of this book that truly made... This was the reason I rated it 1 star. 1 star? It's just a single star, girl. Are you... She began blinking. Are you saying you want a life with me? Yes, he said. And because her heart was melting, Iris smiled and teased. Is this a proposal? He continued to hold their stare, deadly serious. If I asked you, would you say yes? Guys, they get engaged after 2 kisses. After 2, they get engaged. Obviously, you're gonna argue, you're gonna tell me, Sophie, they're in a war. They're in a fucking war. They could maybe die tomorrow. Of course they're gonna get married. Just go home. Truly hate the fact that they get engaged. They even get married in the backyard. Neither of them has had sex before, which of course no shade, no tea. But it does make you wonder, do you need to get married to the first person you kiss? Are we Mormon? Kid, I've never slept with anyone before, neither have I, but if that's something you're not ready for, then we can wait, but we can't wait with the marriage. Then the war is finally coming. Finally, we've been waiting for this one. It's coming to their town that was supposedly safe, and they have to evacuate soon. ASAP. And they get everything ready to evacuate. They put out their packs that they have prepared in case of evacuation, which is now happening. It turns out that one of the packs gets stolen. No, two of the packs get stolen. And also a jumpsuit. Kid's jumpsuit also gets stolen, or it disappeared. Because he goes, oh, I only have this one jumpsuit left. And then Iris is like, we get two, bitch. You dumb? And then he goes, well, yeah, but this morning when I looked into my closet, there was only one in there. And so someone stole 2 packs and a fucking jumpsuit. And no one is bothered by this. No one is bothered by this. They're like, it's the packs, they're like, okay, maybe it was someone, whatever, we don't care. The jumpsuit, no one talks about it. No one talks about it. It's conveniently like left out, like they mention it on the side. So you know later that it happened. But then no one discusses it. You're not supposed to think about it further. My notes say they have sex for the first time, in brackets cowgirl, in brackets he does ejaculate inside her. I don't think she's on birth control. Maybe she's pregnant in the next book. That would, honestly, I would fuck with that. Just make it go completely insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like pregnancy, she births like a monster or something. Then, of course, they get bombed. But it's not really bombs, it's gas. And that gas makes you unconscious or something. I don't really know what it does. And then someone comes up to her in a jumpsuit and hands her a gas mask in preparation. And she takes it, and because she only knows one dude with a jumpsuit, which is Kid, she's like, oh my god, this is my husband. I'm gonna go with him. Not realizing, or actually realizing, she goes, he was running as he had before his injuries. And she keeps running after him. And of course his voice is distorted, how do you say? Disordered? Did I say that? I'm sorry if I said that. His voice sounds weird through the gas mask. And she's like, whatever, this is Kid, he's running like he doesn't have any injuries. He just, I don't know, he just spawned the gas mask out of nowhere. It's gotta be him. She runs after him and then eventually realizes, oh my god, this is not Roman, this is my brother, Forrest. Because, like, who else could have turned up at the end of the book and stolen the jumpsuit and whatever. By the way, the reason they didn't evacuate the town was because they wanted to help the people that were left in the town, and Iris's reasoning for this was that her brother was supposedly in a town like 80 or 90 kilometers away. So in her head, she was rationalizing, and she was like, okay, my brother's gonna come here if we're gonna get attacked, and then I can find him and be reunited with him, because she doesn't know what's up with him. She had like a few letters from generals who told her where he was at, but she didn't know anything. So he comes in and saves her now, and we get the line that everyone will quote to you on TikTok. I'm going to read it out to you. Obviously, Roman is injured. There's gas around them, making them delulu. He was only 5 meters away. He could no longer run. He lost. He could no longer run. He could hardly walk. Her heart broke when she realized he had crawled through the gold to reach her. Everyone on TikTok will say, oh my god, he couldn't walk, he couldn't run, he crawled. Get up. I would get the ick. No, I'm kidding. You know, peace and love, Roman. He doesn't make it. You know, he has to be left behind. And Iris goes with her brother. And that's so cute. And he tells her, the brother tells the sister, you can't go back there, sister. It's James Charles. Not sure why we are using sister now. And she also calls him brother. And with peace and with love, I have a brother and I've never called him brother. Do you call your sibling sister or brother? Or is she trying to be old-timey? I don't really get it. I don't like it that much either. At all, actually. She realizes now that that her brother, I'm so over it, we're at the end, this is the last thing. Her brother had not, in fact, been fighting for Enva, as she thought, but for Dacre, for the past few months or however long, I don't really know. He initially started fighting for Enva, who called him to war, but then he got injured to a point where he almost died, and Dacre is the god of healing, so he healed him and then resurrected him, basically, and that bound him to the evil god. Evil god, he's probably not going to be evil, we're going to find out next book, I don't know. And then he had to fight for him, even though he didn't want to, because he had like a life debt or something to him. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with Roman in the second book, and he's also not going to remember who Iris is, he's not going to remember his past life. So I wonder if it was the same for Forrest, that he did not remember his past life, but Peace and Love, I only know that because I read the description for the second book, I wouldn't know this otherwise. It gave a lot away. And her brother was able to fight against this life debt that he had, and then went to look for Iris, saved her, said fuck off Roman, and now they're living happily ever after, brother and sister. Roman is taken by Dacre as a soldier into the underworld, so we're gonna get more of the gods and the magic in the second book, but I don't care because I didn't get any of it in the first book, and so fuck off. Peace and Love, like, I'm really mad. I'm also really mad because she's published the first book this year, in April, and she's publishing the second one in December this year. This is such a that's such a difficult word for me. Phenomenon. So fascinating to me how fast publishing has gotten, that you're able to publish 2 books out of the same series in 1 year, with only a few months in between. That would have never been possible back in the day when I was reading, like, a lot of shit, you know what I mean? And I think I'm going to make a podcast episode about that, because I just do not think you can have a very high quality, I mean that with War and Hate, actually, I won't say Peace and Love, but War and Hate, a very high quality book, if it's published in the same year as the first book. It gives me the ick, and it turns me off from reading the second book. Not that I read any sequels, Peace and Love, you know, besides Fourth Wing and Lightlock, but Fourth Wing is also coming out in the same year as the first book. How is that possible? Especially if you're traditional published. I don't get it. So the book ends with Roman being taken as a soldier, and also when Iris returns to magical London, she finds a letter on the floor, and when I was reading it for the first time, I thought that Roman had written it after she left him behind in the grass, but I think he wrote it before she left to the Warfront to kind of confess that it was him, and he wrote, Iris! Exclamation mark. Iris, it's me, Kit! And he wrote that like in a haste before she left, but she didn't see it in time and left to the Warfront, and so she didn't know it was him, okay? But I think it's really funny that he wrote Iris! Exclamation, Iris, it's me, Kit, like he was yelling after her, but it's a letter. Just write, it's me, Kit. Why are we yelling in a letter? I'm very not curious to see how the second book is gonna go. I actually have zero interest in knowing what happens to these people, because I don't give a fuck about this book. It's, again, you know, it's not like it was super bad. The writing was good enough compared to a lot of other things that I read, but that's also the reason I was debating with myself whether to give it 2 stars or 1 star, but I ended up with the 1 star because I just cannot believe she had them get married after 2 kisses without having sex, and then the first time they have sex is Cowgirl and he comes on her. Insane. Even for YA. So we're done. Are you ready for the hair reveal? Oh my god. This morning I worked and I had a slick back ponytail, but it was pulling on my hair. I couldn't do it for this video. And I was like, okay, how do I cover up all of the fucking wax and shit that I put in my hair? It just looks nasty, I'm so sorry, but I had to take the headband off because that was also hurting my head. I like how I always start out the videos looking very put together, and then by the end I'm just slouching in my chair and the sun is going down. I know I talked a lot, I'm sorry. Oh my god, I look like a villain. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, I love you so much. I also love you if you're not here anymore, but then you won't hear it. You can consider becoming a member. You can do it on my channel and under this video, but there's also a link in the description if you want to become a part of the Book Hater Club officially, because you know everyone's part of it, but officially. And also if you want to help me find my next read. The poll is gonna be up by the time that you see this video. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out the options. I love you so much. You can follow me on Instagram, on Goodreads, on TikTok, wherever you want. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this. I love you so much. Peace and love. Stay happy, stay healthy. and maybe I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!